Now that everybody's come down from the crazy 5-4 overtime win versus the Seattle Kraken the other night to start the Canadiens' home season, let's look ahead as the Nashville Predators come to town to take on your Habs. Let's talk some puck. Was that an exciting night or what, Habs fans? Welcome to another preview episode of PuckTalk Montreal. I am Costa Papoulias, and of course, always excited to be with you. Few subjects I want to talk about, especially the preview coming up between the Habs and the Nashville Predators. And before we get started, let's make sure we give love to our partners, starting with Insta Customs. They are the number one destination for custom apparel printing, highest rated print shop in Canada with over 3,000 Google reviews and a 4.9 star rating. They print on all your favorite clothing, t-shirts, hoodies, polos, hats, beanies, tote bags, even coffee and travel mugs, and yes, they even offer embroidery. Most orders are printed and shipped the very same day, and large orders in less than 3 days with free shipping. Open 7 days a week. They're located on Stanley Street in downtown Montreal. Easy to remember as it ties in with the Habs winning the Stanley Cup. So whether it's for yourself, a loved one, or your business, trust Instacustoms. Visit them in person or order online at instacustoms.com. Also brought to you by cheapesttshirts.ca. Proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers, they bring you unbelievable value. With over 1,000 products and more than 36 trusted brands like Gildan Jerseys and American Apparel, their selection is unmatched. They are the go-to source for businesses, events, apparel printing companies, and resellers, or people just looking to save money on everyday clothing. Plus, enjoy free shipping on large orders and an easy-to-use website that makes ordering online a breeze. Make sure you get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. So now the Montreal Canadiens are 3-1 on their season. An overtime win to start here in Montreal, and the Nashville Predators coming into town to take them on. Nashville, for their part, have started the season 2-1 with an overtime loss to the Woolly Mammoth of Utah and a pretty heavy-duty loss just last night versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. So you're going to ask yourself, what kind of team is Nashville going to bring to the table? Well, let's take a look at what they're going to offer us. Nashville's forwards, they're a good group. You look at their first line, there's no two ways about it, a very solid line. You look at it, and you've got Forsberg, O'Reilly, and Stamkos on the first, Tyson Jost, Fedor Svechkov, and Luka Evangelista on the second, Bunting, Erik Haula, and Jonathan Marchessault on the third, and finally Cole Smith, former Habs first-round pick Michael McCarron, and Ozzy Weisblatt rounding out the fourth line. Weisblatt, of course, is day-to-day with an injury, so we don't know whether or not he's going to be in the lineup. He'll be a game-time decision. As far as defense are concerned, you got Adam Wilsby and Roman Josi, their perennial all-star and captain on the back end, Brady Shea and Nick Perbix, along with Spencer Stastny and former Hab Justin Barron. Well, when you take a look at the Nashville lineup, what does it scream to you? Well, to me, it screams one thing. They're old. They're not young. They're pretty long in the tooth. When you look at the age of the average player on the Nashville Predators, I mean, their average age is somewhere around 27 years old, but a lot of the guys that mean something to this team are a bit longer in the tooth, especially when you look at Roman Josi and Steven Stamkos, who are both 35 years of age, still very effective players, but nowhere near what they were in their prime. Jonathan Marchessault is 34, along with Ryan O'Reilly. And then Erik Haula is as well at 34 years old. Brady Shea's 31, and so is Filip Forsberg. Now, when offense comes around, the guys you look at, obviously, are O'Reilly, Forsberg, Stamkos. Those are the guys that normally generate the offense. Of course, Jonathan Marchessault got a couple of goals the other night versus, I can't remember who they played in that third game. Oh, that's not going to come to me. I just watched it, too. That's the funny part. I just watched, but 4 games. I'm not going to remember everybody. But in the second game, you got 2 goals, including the overtime win. Oh, it was the Mammoth. 2 goals, including the overtime winner versus the Mammoth. So, you know, Marchessault's still an effective player, and he still brings a lot to the table. Defensively, there's no denying that Roman Josi, just like Shea Weber before him, is the captain of the ages for the Nashville Predators. Still effective, still quick, still covers the zone very well, still dangerous on both sides of the puck. But once you get beyond Roman Josi, the defense, there's a lot to be left to be desired. Brady Shea, he's a quality defenseman. Justin Barron, still learning his way around the National Hockey League. One of the reasons why the Canadiens decided to let him go. But overall, when you take a look at the Nashville Predators up and down, it's a solid lineup, but it's a beatable lineup. But here's the one part that we still haven't discussed that isn't as beatable as you might think, and that is between the pipes. One of the things about the Nashville Predators is that Juuse Saros is among the best goaltenders in the National Hockey League. And when he's on his game, Nashville's going to win. I don't care what team you're facing. Whether it's the Edmonton Oilers with their high-powered offense, or whether it's the Buffalo Sabres, or even the Montreal Canadiens, Juuse Saros can win you hockey games. They can get you shutouts. He can win low-scoring games, as he did versus the Mammoth. The proof is all there. Saros is a dangerous customer when it comes to playing against the opposition. Just for his backup, Justice Anonen, he played the other night in Toronto. He was the one that got pummeled for 5 goals. Of course, Toronto getting a couple of empty netters to end that game, but 5 goals against the Leafs is a tough pill to swallow. Here's the thing. How do I see the Montreal Canadiens beating the Nashville Predators? Well, it comes in 2 different phases. Number one, there is no argument that the Canadiens have a lot more speed than the Nashville Predators. The Predators, as I mentioned, an older team, not nearly as quick as they used to be. And even when they were young, guys like Ryan O'Reilly never really that fleet of foot when it came to skating up and down the ice. So you can just imagine now, at 34 years old, is he still as quick? Definitely not. So the Canadiens up and down the lineup from first to fourth line are a hell of a lot faster than the Nashville Predators. Defensively, Canadiens have depth. They still have a lot to prove. They're young, but they still have they have a lot of depth, much more than the Nashville Predators do. The game is going to be decided, as usual, between the pipes. If we get good goaltending from Montreal, if Sam Montembeault, who I expect to start in the game versus the Predators, plays well, then, well, the Canadiens are going to come out on top, because I can't see the Nashville Predators matching the Montreal Canadiens stride for stride. Hey, Toronto is not that quick a team, and they were, basically neck and neck with them until the 2 empty net goals, right? When you look at their first opponent, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Columbus Blue Jackets are a relatively young team. So are the Utah Mammoth. So you saw that there was some pushback. The Canadiens, though, on a different level than those other teams, with maybe the exception of Toronto, because Toronto's got a lot of firepower. I still think, roster for roster, Montreal's got a better roster than the Toronto Maple Leafs. And they have a better group, right? We know how much these guys love each other. So what do I think is going to happen? Well, the easiest way to say this is this. If the Montreal Canadiens get into the habit of getting the puck in the air, Saros is prone to go down quickly when he's in goal, right? And he's fantastic down low, almost unbeatable. Up high, that's a different story. Saros has been prone to give up goals over the shoulders, above his blocker, over his glove. So if the Canadiens can manage to hit the net up high on Saros and get him moving, then you're probably going to see the Canadiens have success. So I look for it to be maybe a 4-1, maybe a 5-2 score, given that the Montreal Canadiens get good goaltending out of Sam Montembeault. If that doesn't happen, Saros can very well steal this hockey game, and the Canadiens can end up on the wrong end of that ledger. But if all things aside, if everything goes the way I see it, then the Montreal Canadiens are going to come out on top. I think about 5-2 is the right score. Again, don't quote me on it. I'm no prognosticator. It's just a feeling I have. There are a couple of other subjects that I wanted to broach in tonight's preview. One of them is the subject of Sam Montembeault. Now, I know that a lot of people, praised me the other night for giving him his props because he made the adjustments that I wanted him to make, and, it was what it was. He still allowed 4 goals, a lot of them on bad bounces, but overall, I liked his game the other night. Whether or not he remains consistent, that's going to be proven through the next couple of games. But here's the thing about Montembeault that I wanted to clear up to everybody, and people have to stop doing this. Sean Banks brought this up in the comments, so thanks, Sean. And I wanted to clarify, because I don't want to be piled in with all these other people. I don't shit on Sam Montembeault so that he can lose his job as the number one goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens. I want him to live up to the expectation of a number one goaltender. That's it. It's not a question of I want Dobish to be the number one, because I don't think Dobish is quite ready for that yet. He doesn't have enough NHL experience. Do I think Jacob Fowler's going to play in Montreal this year? No. Jacob Fowler's going to get his minutes with Laval, and probably next season he will push. And that's what I want for Montembeault. I don't want to see him lose his job. What I want him to do is fix what's broken so that he can compete against Dobish and Fowler next season. I never want ill will for anybody when it comes to the Montreal Canadiens. Whenever you don this jersey, the one that I'm wearing, you deserve the respect that goes with making that team, Montembeault included. It's not an easy journey. He came from Florida where he's the third stringer, and he's the number one goaltender in Montreal. That takes a lot of work, and you got to get him credit for that. Is his game perfect? No. Is he a top 10 goaltender in the National Hockey League like a lot of people say? I don't think so personally. There are too many gaps in his game to say he's a top 10 goalie. I'm sorry. You can quote all the stats you want. He fails the eye test when you look at him. He plays small. He doesn't play like a big goaltender, and he's not a small guy. He can take up a lot of net if he plays the right way. Stay up a little bit longer, come out to the top of your crease like he did. Make sure you've got your glove up, stick down on the ice to close off the 5-hole. All things that he did the other night, and he still allowed 4 goals. But again, bad bounces. It is what it is. You got to move forward from there, right? And he will. And if they continue to work on it and he continues to do the same things, he will have success. I have no doubt, because he's good at reactionary saves, which proves to me that he has the ability to stop the puck. The one part that I worry about, that again Sean brought up, is his ability to recognize the plays going on around him. The first goal, where the puck went down towards Shane Wright and then went cross crease. He should have been able to put a stick out and deflect that puck away from the front of the net as it was going through his crease. Instead, he kept it tight to his pad because he was down, and the puck went through onto the stick of Jaden Schwartz, and he put it home behind him. Those are stoppable pucks. And the only reason he didn't do that is because he didn't realize that Schwartz was sitting on the back door. Again, another one of those things where I talk about play recognition. Can he see peripherally? It bothers me. It really does. Because a lot of times when he doesn't slide across, I worry that his peripheral vision is what's jamming him up. There used to be a time when goalie masks didn't have all that fiberglass, where it was a helmet and cage, whether you're looking at what Dominik Hasek used to wear, which was a conventional player's cage, or whether it was Chris Osgood or Dan Cloutier, or you name the goaltender who used to wear the full cage, the cat eyes cage, which was originally created to play broomball, not to play ice hockey. It was adapted by goaltenders because of the fact that it had big eye holes and they could see the puck better. I used to wear one of those. Why? Because I could see out here. Right now, when you have a goalie mask, and I should have brought mine down to show you, if I were to turn sideways the way helmets are, you get closed off here. The opening is still there, but it gets quite close to the side of your eye when it gets closed off by the fiberglass. And so there are going to be spots that you're going to miss. If your mask shifts, you can lose the puck quite easily. And trust me, the way goalie masks fly off, they're not tight to the face. They're made to be loose so that they can They can absorb the impact of a shot and come off. Because if they were solid, with the limited padding they have on the inside, goalies would be concussed 24/7. Right? But they're not. Why? Because the minute the helmet gets hit, the straps pop, the helmet falls off because everything is loose enough to be able to come off. That's what goalie masks are made to be right now. I worry that peripherally, the goalie mask is prohibiting Sam Montembeault from seeing properly. I'm going to pay closer attention to that a little bit because I had seen that with Dustin Tokarski way back when his face was too deep in his mask. His nose wasn't close enough to the front of the cage. And because of that, I realized that his face was too far back and he was wearing the chin strap too tight. And so what that was doing is actually protruding the helmet out, forcing it outwards, and he wasn't able to see side to side. Funny story about that. At our D-skate camp, I actually pointed that out to him, and he hadn't realized it. And when he made the adjustment, he thanked me for it. Go figure that one out. And it was just in passing in the hallway. And they introduced himself, and we had that talk very quickly. It was fun, honestly. But getting away from that, Sam Montembeault played well the other night. We can't say that he didn't. He was at the top of his crease. He made saves when he had to. His rebound control was good in general. So you can't really complain. But it has to remain consistent. And in order for the Canadiens to beat Nashville tomorrow night, it's going to have to remain consistent. And as I said, I'm not one of those guys that wants to see him lose his job, right? If, and only if, he goes through a stretch where he can't allow less than 4 goals a game, either he's going to have a talking to, either Eric Raymond's going to get fired, or the Canadiens are going to have to make a change. But that's if it extends that far. I don't foresee it being the first few games of the season, because he did get pumped last year a couple of times early on, right? For, I believe it was 9-7 last year. The 7 was against the same Kraken that we played yesterday. So let's see what he has to bring. Let's give him a chance to get settled in goal, because he's starting to make the adjustments already. He sees what he's doing wrong, and he's doing all the right things. So let's leave it at that. The other thing I also want to get to is a comment that was made about Arbor Xhekaj and the goal that was scored on against him by Jared McCann last night. I watched that play more than once. And if there's anything that was wrong with that play, is that he looked the wrong way when the puck hit him. He looked left, the puck went right, McCann took it and scored. I'm not going to say that he lost McCann, because anybody that gets hit by a puck, whether it's a defenseman or forward, the minute they feel the puck, their first instinct is to look for it. And that's all that Xhekaj did on that play. When he realized where the puck was, it was too late. I mean, and for Montembeault, as I mentioned yesterday in the postgame, when a guy spins with a puck, whether it's forehand or backhand, finding it and being able to stop it is extremely difficult. So no blame to be laid there. It was just another one of those lucky bounces that happened in a very lucky hockey game. Both teams got lucky bounces last night. It is what it is, right? You can't do anything when, puck luck doesn't go your way. And I hate that word, but in this case, you have to use it, because that's exactly what it was. It could have been as simple as, okay, the puck hit Xhekaj and goes into the corner. No harm, no foul, and McCann doesn't score. But it hits him up inside the jersey, drops down to McCann's feet, where he turns around and he fires it home. There is no defense against that. I don't care how good you are as a defenseman, and it doesn't mean anything. I meant what I said yesterday about the Canadiens' defense. I didn't see a single flaw in what they did last night, personally, from a coaching perspective or from a fan perspective. I liked it up and down, and that has to continue. They were good in the offensive zone. They were good in their own zone. There's no two ways about that. And one of the other things I wanted to point it out too that I didn't mention yesterday, but I want to mention today, is the love that the Montreal Canadiens fans showed for Marty St. Louis. There are a lot of people, especially on this channel's Facebook page, and I encourage you to go out and join, because we put up a lot of articles from different sites that you can enjoy that talk about the Montreal Canadiens. One of the things that I see there more often than not is Marty needs to be replaced with another coach. Marty this and Marty that. And I don't know about the rest of you guys, and please put it in the comments if you do or you don't, but I'm kind of tired of this whole Marty St. Louis isn't the hockey coach rhetoric anymore. That ship has sailed. I think in the last 3.5 years, he's proven just how good he is as an NHL coach, and he's only going to get better. He's an excellent communicator. His own players mention that all the time. Cole Caufield mentioned how much he loves Marty St. Louis and the type of coach that he is. So do other players. So why the hell, given the results that we've seen so far this year and the fact that the Canadiens made the playoffs last year after just 3 years into the rebuild, 1 year ahead of their schedule, why in the world would you be so critical of a coach? They're not winning the Stanley Cup this year, guys. There's a reason why Jeff Molson signed Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton to another 5, because he doesn't foresee it being this year, probably not even next year. It's going to be another couple of years before the Canadiens really contend for a Stanley Cup. And when you look at other podcasts, especially Toronto-based podcasts, when you see a guy like Steve Dangle admit that over the next 10 years, the Montreal Canadiens are going to be the team to beat, knowing how much Steve loves Toronto and hates the Habs, him admitting that says something. Because what is being done in Montreal, the way the team is playing, the way the team is built, the way the team is coached, is what he's wanted for the Leafs forever. Still wants it to this day. So let's stop with the whole Marty St. Louis is not a good coach, because he is. He's surrounded by good people. He's a great delegator, and he's a great teacher. When you see him do one-on-ones with a guy like Ivan Demidov, and then you see that play come to fruition the very same night, you know he's got a good grasp on the team. He's got a good grasp with the skill set of each individual player, and he knows exactly what he's doing. So let's stop with it. We showed him a lot of love in the opener, a great ovation. A lot of people had tears in their eyes, myself included, when Marty was getting that. Because if there's one thing a guy from Laval, who lived just off the island of Montreal, grew up a Montreal Canadiens fan, he may have never donned the jersey, but the fact he's behind the bench and fans are cheering him that way, trust me, if there's one thing it's going to do, it's going to drive him to be an even better coach, because that's built into Marty St. Louis' blood and into his DNA. So stop. I don't want to hear anything more about Marty St. Louis being a bad coach. There are plenty of those in the National Hockey League that you can criticize, not St. Louis. So move away from that. I'm not going to justify that. I'm not going to say anything about that. Coaches make mistakes like anybody else. They're human. But as far as what he's been able to do with this team thus far, he's far from being that bantam coach that everybody assumed took the Canadiens' reins. He wasn't. What he was is a Hall of Fame player that took what he wanted as a player and turned it into a concept and a system that works with young players that are hungry to win. What more do you want? I'm fine with it. Tell me what you think about what's going to happen in tomorrow night's game. Do you agree the Canadiens can win it if they play with speed? Nashville, obviously, their speed is not there, quite like the Montreal Canadiens. They're faster, they're quicker, they're younger. Defensively, the Canadiens have a lot more depth on D than Nashville does. The only place where I would say we're second is in goal. Juuse Saros, you have to admit, one of the best goaltenders in the National Hockey League. Tell me what you think. What's your score prediction for the game tomorrow? Maybe I'll bet what you say, depending on what your logic is. I digress. I don't bet. I don't gamble. Otherwise, my wife would shoot me. But nonetheless, tell me what you think. What's your outcome for the game tomorrow? I'm dying to hear what you have to say. And you know what? Maybe if you say something that actually happens in the game, I'll do what I did with Sean, and I'll mention it in one of the shows. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the love. Make sure, as always, give the videos a thumbs up. Let's make sure that other people learn about the channel. And one last thing that I want to bring up before we go. And it was something that Sean said about being too aggressive or coming off aggressive with his comments. I don't find that aggressive comments are directed towards me. Okay, ever. Aggressive comments show one thing to me, and that's passion. So like I say every time, unless you're insulting my daughters or my wife, put the comments in there. Don't be shy. Disagree with me all you want. Call me a moron if you want. Please don't make any hair jokes. I'd appreciate that. But nonetheless, put it in there. Every opinion matters. Every opinion is worth discussing, good or bad. So put it out there. And you know what? If we don't discuss it on the air, I'll put comments and we could start a discussion in the comments area. No harm, no foul. Thanks to our partners, Insta Customs and cheapesttshirts.ca. We'll see you tomorrow night after the game. Go Habs, go.